Good morning, everyone. Um, so we are on. I see we have 9 participants, so we can get started. So please note that the first 10 minutes of the live stream was actually me waiting for you guys to get in. Now that I know that all I have to do is start up the live, send the link to you guys. So from tomorrow we should be good. All right, so let's go. Today we are going to be doing the third lecture, which is conflict management. Last week, just to recap last week. Last week we did um, introductions to management. Right. Last week we did some historical background of management, and we also did HR. Right. Good. Yes. So there we go. So this week we're going to be doing conflict management. And conflict management, I chose this is an easier offshoot from HR because the HR department is one that's going to have to be doing a lot of management and conflict resolutions. So just confirming that everyone is seeing me fine, everyone is hearing me fine. Just send a chat that everything is okay. The bad thing about this is because is that I wouldn't be able to call on you guys to answer questions. So I may have to just do it via the chat. So we'll see how that operates and see how that works. Okay. Right. Great. So conflict management. So when we hear the term conflict, immediately we would think that there's one or two parties, one or two or more parties that disagree on something, that have an issue or have a difference in opinion on something. So some definitions: a battle or contest of opposing forces between primitive desires with moral, religious, and ethical ideas. So it's a known fact that throughout history and even in today's world, we have conflicts as a result of religion. We have right now there are conflicts in the world because of race. So conflicts happen all the time. Conflict isn't going to go away anytime soon. It's part of our history. It's part of, I guess, human nature. So the other part is talking about the incompatibility of ideas between two or more parties and individuals. So even right there in your class, you may have a group of people who subscribe to a particular idea, another group that doesn't subscribe to that particular idea, or they may not have any feelings about the first group's idea, but they may have their own ideas. And if you all are required to come together for consensus, conflict will occur. I am sure, I am absolutely sure that everyone here, right, good. I'm sure that everyone here has encountered conflicts within recent times, or at least certainly within your you guys are year 4, so your first 3 years of pharmacy school. Um, Group work, group work, did conflicts arise there? I'm asking a question to you guys, so you could just hit me up some answers. Yes, no. Hopefully, we might see some answers where the groups were fine. Everyone gelled together, and there was no conflicts. But I'm absolutely sure that a lot of you would have had lots of conflicts during your group work and during your research projects, etc. So again, conflict is very much part of everyday life. So conflict management is a particular practice. It's a discipline of identifying and handling conflict in a sensible and efficient manner. So it makes absolutely no sense to engage in a conflict where you are being biased by approaching conflict in a sensible and fair manner. Whoever turns out to be wrong, well, will objectively see that they are wrong. And whoever turns out to be right will objectively see that they are right. So the approach is not to be biased, and it must be done in an efficient manner. So when does conflict happen? It's a normal, inescapable part of life. Let me see if anybody else Yes, Reese says all the time. Rahul says conflicts in groups. Yes, I expected that. I expected that. It's very normal. Um, yes, so normal, inescapable part of life. I want you all to accept this. We are going to always have conflicts, whether be it your lecturer and your student, whether be it the university and the lecturer, whether be it you and your parents, whether be it you and your children, whether be you and your colleagues. It's an inescapable part of life. Happens periodically in all relationships. We all want less and less conflict, but it's something that you can't get away from. And the fourth point is it really gives everyone an opportunity to understand opposing preferences and values. It gives one group, if it is their objective, the chance to see the perspective of another group and understand the position that this other group have. And similarly, the other group A can look at group B and look at the perspective and the position of group B. So there's an opportunity. So some conditions that are needed for conflicts to happen: scarce resources. Scarce resources, and I am sure I can just go back to the chat now, and we can talk about um, uh, just when corona coronavirus was picking up. There was conflict in groceries, right? Correct. There was conflict in groceries. Anyone can remember? I'm sure everyone here can remember when there were videos all over the internet and on social media about people fighting for toilet paper and people fighting for certain things that they thought would have been scarce as a result of coronavirus, and simple scarce resources cause of conflict. Conflicting goals. So you have a particular objective, another group has another objective, but you all somehow have to work within the same world or the same country. Conflicting goals. Styles. Group A might have a particular method of doing something. Group B has a different method. Which is the one that's going to be chosen if it reaches that choice? Personality conflicts. You are who you are, and if you are a particular way, your personality defines who you are, and would be a real hindrance in being able to interact with other personalities. And we all, I'm sure we heard, I'm sure we know that there are many instances of persons who, because of their personalities, they are unable to interact with other people. Um, I'm sure you could think of examples of people who you say something wrong with them. I can't deal with that person. That's a pure personality conflict. Values, things that you hold dear to you. It would bother with your morals and what your beliefs are as well. What you value compared to what another group values. So those things can lead to conflicts. Conflict of aims of different goals. So we mentioned this in the last slide. Conflict of ideas, different interpretations, attitudes, which is opinions, and behaviors. Behaviors that are considered unacceptable for one group. One group considers this behavior unacceptable, the other thinks it's okay. So how do we create conflict? In management, from the perspective of management, when you are a manager, how can you be the one that actually causes conflict? And we have these examples here. You're telling your subordinate, come see me all the time. You are not approachable. You're being judgmental. You take an individual versus a team approach. You don't be a role model. There are managers who are boxed in themselves, and then they don't interact with the rest of the team. They don't care about being a role model, and they survive in their organizations, I guess, because certain things facilitate it. But it's not the best way to go, because you are going to create conflict. You are going to cause problems. You may exist in a department with that type of approach for maybe a few months, maybe a few years, but you're not going to be there and you're not going to grow. If your senior management team is able to see this, see you not being a role model, seeing you being judgmental, seeing you um, taking an individual versus team approach, um, they will have to take action, because you are now going to become a liability, or a liability to the organization. Because remember what I said on last week Monday. Let me see if I can get you guys to answer this one. Um, People resign jobs because of, give me some answers. People resign their jobs because of what or who? Give me some answers. I'll be taking a look just now, because I mentioned this last week. Right, so let me see some answers. Supervisors, yes, Firaz, you are perfectly correct. Vasudeva, stress, yes, yes, it is unfair treatment, poor management, right? Good, good. So the poor management, the unfair treatment, and all fall into the supervisors. People leave jobs, they are unhappy with the workplace environment. Yes, Tracy. Um, Yes, if you're working in a place with cramped conditions, and let's talk about this quickly. Cramped conditions, poor lighting, poor ventilation, poor equipment, unhappy with the workplace environment. Completely could understand that. Poor management, yes. If you see management, first of all, not achieving their mandate of producing results, um, of course, you would be unhappy with that. Sly Ralph, or Ralph Sly, unfair treatment, surely. Vasudeva, stress, absolutely. And Firaz, supervisors. Good, so good, very good. You all remembered. Great, great. So some other causes of conflicts: poorly defined goals. So if you remember, I want you to remember when you're in your management role, or even when you go out there to work as a pharmacist, um, a junior pharmacist amongst your team. You still have to start from there, even though you may not be in direct supervision of anyone as an absolute junior pharmacist, as an intern. Very soon after your internship period, you're going to be responsible for staff. And you want your staff to know what your goals are for when, at least when you are running your shift. You need your staff to understand what's the overall goal of your department. And even more so, what's the overall goal of your division, and then the overall goal of the company. And we spoke about those goals last week. I believe this was in community management, but it's still very relevant here. So we have strategic, tactical, and operational. All right, not enough money, Vasudeva. Yeah, that's a reason why sometimes people can leave. But I want you all, as young professionals, to not only look at your salary as a reason for not staying in a job. Always look at weighing out the benefits of where you work and the salary you work for versus working somewhere else. The higher salary, but the cost of getting to that job, the cost of being there, the cost of reaching to that job, the amount of stress it may have, those things. So I want you all to not only look at salary as a reason for accepting or leaving a job. Of course, nobody's asking you to work for free. Nobody's asking you to work for, as we say, dog salary. But it shouldn't be the only thing that you look at. Okay, so as I put there on the chat, strategic, tactical, and operational goals. Can anyone remember or what goals and objectives should be? Can anyone tell me? Goals and objectives should be, and I'll take a look and see who put in some answers there. Divergent personal values, we spoke about that in the second slide. Lack of cooperation and trust. As young managers, cooperation and trust of your junior employees is absolutely important. If you have your junior employees that don't trust you, and they and they simply won't cooperate with you, they would do as you say based on instruction, and sometimes the execution of that instruction would be halfway done. It's important that you get trust and cooperation from your team. And if you can't get that, it may be time for you to get another team. Either you leave the organization or your team leaves the organization. And that would depend. Depend on your reputation. That would depend on your skills. And I want to be very clear on what I just said, right? Let me see. Short term, medium term, and long term. Yes, Melissa. Goals can be short, medium, and long term. I was looking for another answer. Goals and objectives should be strengthen relations between management and workers. Um, not, not what I was looking for, but yes, we want to always be strengthen relations between management, and workers. And yes, goals and objectives can do that. But I was actually looking desired outcomes for employees and the organizational desired outcomes. Yes, that's like a definition. And Reese, that's a definition for goals. But what I was getting at is this, and you might see me saying this ad nauseum. Very good, Siddiq. Very good. You put it in right there. So S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for realistic, and T is for timely. So reviewing again, I want this to sink in home to everyone. Goals must be smart. Okay, this can apply to all of your management courses. Farm admin, community management, institutional management. When you go out into the working world, if you can look at your if you can look at your projects and your plans, and you can look at what your boss is asking you to do, and you put it in the perspective of a smart goal, and you'll be surprised, and you'll be actually very happy to see how it works out. Okay, so continuing on, competition for scarce. Well, so this slide has a typo. Competition for scarce resources. Believe it or not, we can just use right now. Let's just use our manner of governance in the country. So we have uh, these different ministries. They all have budgets, um, and the budget is a scarce resource. You will have this. Let's just say Ministry of National Security might say, we need the biggest chunk of the pie because we have a crime issue in our country. Education might say, we need the biggest chunk of the pie because we are educating the students that are coming up in the world today. Social development might say the same thing. So these different ministries and ministers and permanent secretaries, etc., they can all have conflict between each other, and this is all within one government, but they have conflicts amongst each other for the same scarce resource of finance and money, right? So unclear roles, lack of job description. So unclear roles would tie into the very first point, which is poorly defined goals. Something to remember, as soon as someone comes into your organization, as soon as you go into an organization, I want you to ask for a clearly defined role. Most companies would give you a job description, but your immediate supervisor or the person who is hiring you will tell you what you are expected to do. So you know upfront what you are expected to do or what you ought not to be doing, right? So conflicts can have some serious effects on your organization. And as you can imagine, as you guys mentioned in the chat, you know, if you are unhappy with the workplace environment, as Tracy said, Vasudeva said not enough money, Melissa said poor management. If you have all of these things happening, you will start to get workplace stress. And trust me when I say that when there's conflict, the stress is experienced throughout the hierarchy of the organization, from the top manager all the way down to the lowest level manager. If the organization is in stress, everyone feels it. And you would see from the bottom part of the organization, the floor staff, your frontline people, they will start to become absent. They would start to get staff turnover. People would be coming and going constantly. Lots of demotivation. A lot of people would feel not motivated to get up and come to work. This is an actual I wouldn't call it a mental uh, illness, but it's an actual psychological issue that large organizations who can afford workplace therapy to use it to address this demotivation, staff turnover, and staff stress. It will lead to non-productivity. When you're not motivated to do something, when you could produce 10 pieces of something, you produce 8 pieces. And you'd be like, yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. Or them don't care about me. You know, that's the position that you would see persons taking if it is that they are if it is they are yeah if it is they're not motivated, they would start to lose productivity. And I want you all to remember, I'm gonna write this in here. Happy employees are productive. Happy employees are productive employees. There's no question about that. If you have everything right in the organization, as you guys said, great workplace environment, great salary, great manager, good, fair treatment. Um, if you have all of those things and your employees are still not productive, then you might actually have employees that don't fit your organization. The reality is, tried and tested, happy employees are productive employees. Once these employees know what their role and function is, as long as they're happy, they will be very productive. They will stay and work longer than they're required to, although as a manager, you are not going to be encouraged in that. But they would want to stay and work on projects and take new roles and and really work on their product that they're doing. Happy employees are productive employees. If your employees aren't happy, start looking out for problems, start looking out for shrinkage. Shrinkage meaning inventory disappearing. We don't know where the inventory went, right? So as mentioned, we know that your human resource is your most valuable resource. But if they are not treated well, or if they are not happy, you will have lots of problems your in your company. If you have employees that are happy, you will have lots of good things happening with your company. All right, so we have 5 styles in this diagram here on treating with and dealing with conflict management. And look at the axes you have on your left vertical. You see assertive, and bottom horizontal, you would see cooperative, and they both go from low to high. So looking at the left side, we see avoiding on the diagram, avoiding and competing doesn't use much cooperation, and clearly you can understand that. If you as a manager you're avoiding the conflict, if you as a manager you're encouraging competition with the conflict, and you all know that competition for scarce resources is already a source of conflict. Yes, you're going to be assertive. Yes, it's considered to be, you're going to be assertive if you compete, but you're not going to be cooperative. Looking on the left or looking on the right side, you see accommodating below collaborating. So accommodating and collaborating is is a good cooperative strategy to get cooperation amongst the groups that are in conflict. But is it really the best? And you see the center, which is a subset of all, is compromising, where each group compromises. They give in a little. They're not giving in all, they're giving in a little. So let's look at each of them. We're going to go through each of them and discuss each one. So accommodators, that's the one on on your right hand side, accommodating people. They are unassertive and very cooperative. So the persons who accommodating people would be like, all right, okay, you go ahead, you take the lead, or they give in during a conflict. They'd be like, all right, no fights, you go ahead. They put relationships first. They ignore issues, and this is important for you to. I want you to look at these points. So you might think it is a good thing the person is being humble, and they look how nice he or she was. They didn't make a fight, but take note, they might be ignoring issues. They might be ignoring issues and trying to keep the peace at any price. I want you all to understand that in managing conflict, we should never ever lose sight of the issues. Because if we do that, we are going to allow the wrong thing to happen. If there were real, genuine issues that led to this conflict, these issues need to be completely addressed. You don't want somebody who's accommodating and saying, "Yeah, okay, let it slide, let it slide." Those issues are going to grow into things that are much worse. All right, so I put that there for you all to remember. Yeah, you can't ignore issues, but accommodators do that. They give in, they put relationships first, they ignore the issue, they want to keep peace at any cost. They are effective when other persons or party has a better plan or solution. Right? Being an accommodator, you have to know when to give in. If it is, you can recognize that, hey, you have a better idea. That's actually true. And this is where you apply unbiased objectivity. It's a bit repetitive, a bit redundant, yes. But when you apply unbiased objectivity to your conflict, you can see if this other person, and you can appreciate if this other person has a better idea. They have a better solution to the problem at hand. Okay? So that's accommodators. Avoiders. They avoid conflict altogether. They are uncooperative and unassertive. And they are in the right, they're in the low, they're in the quadrant, bottom left quadrant. And that's where you don't want to be in at all. Absolutely at all. You don't want to be someone who is avoiding completely. When you avoid a conflict, your team, they're going to look at you as though you're not being courageous enough to stand up for what you believe and what the team believes is right. And it's not a good long-term strategy at all to use the avoiding technique. I'm sure that there are examples that we can think of right now that you have used an avoiding approach to a conflict and it blows up into something absolutely horrible, completely horrible. I wish I could have chat with you guys. Well, actually talk and interact some more, because having the type in chat is a little limited. But I want you all to, while we go through the lecture, I want you to think of your own personal life examples or your school examples in pharmacy school or in your high school or where you lived before or in your community. Think about these things so you can actually see it and appreciate it as we go through. Collaborators. So collaborators are both assertive and cooperative. And that's actually a good approach, because you see people who seek a win-win situation. That's actually an approach that I like to use a lot. Whenever I have to address a conflict, whether be it with family members, whether be it with your staff team, you always try to seek a win-win situation. You want to ensure that both parties get some sort of satisfaction after the conflict, so that some part of their wishes and desires were fulfilled. They assert their own views while listening to the other views and welcoming differences. They create room for multiple ideas and requires time and effort from both parties. The competitors take on a win-lose approach. So I pushing through my agenda, and I don't care if you lose. That's the competitors, where one person wins, one person loses. It doesn't rely on cooperation at all to reach the outcome. They go they take the raging bull approach, and they go through and they assert themselves and their agenda to the conflict. And you would see that again. I want you to think of examples right there within your class, right there within the university, where there is a conflict, there is a particular group that would now push through their agenda without listening to anyone, or without taking on, or probably just pander, just probably listening, but not really appreciating the other group's opinion, and they push through their agenda at someone else's expense. But however, there is a silver lining for the competing approach, because it may be used for emergencies when time is important. Now, the group who is pushing through who taking the competitive approach might say, well, yes, it's an emergency, or we need, there's always the group that would say, we need to make a decision quick. And yes, at times we do have to make decisions quickly. It's not all the time, however. There are times when you have the time to sit down and discuss and find the best approach forward for the long-term good. The competing approach would be important for emergencies, and might be important for a short-term, quick decision-making process. But it's not good necessarily for long-term. And finally, the compromisers are the ones that are in between everyone. The the compromisers partially satisfy both parties. The compromisers. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So the compromisers end up in a lose-lose approach, where, um, you know, there's this group, they feel as though they have lost, the other group feel as though they have lost. It's a very temporary approach. Um, it's a very temporary approach, and it's considered to be an easy way out. So, which is best? And I want you all to understand that there is absolutely no best way to handle conflict. Each conflict is different and requires a different response. And you can see these things, you can see on the slide number 15. Two heads are better than one, collaborating. Kill your enemies with kindness, accommodating. Split the difference, compromising. Leave well enough alone, avoiding. And might makes right. That's where people who push through, or who assert the agenda. So there's no best way to handle conflict. And I know I said to you that my preferred approach, and most times, is collaborating, which is the win-win situation. But as a manager, you are going to encounter times where you will have to use the competing approach to conflict, the accommodating approach to conflict, the avoiding approach to conflict, because of the each different types of conflict that would arise. You will have to know which one to choose. You can't always have. Yes, we will all have default methods of approaching a conflict, but you have to understand that not all the time your default approach will work, and you may have to use one that you may be a little uncomfortable doing. You may be a little uncomfortable. So let's just say you are the assertive type. There may be at times where you need to start to be collaborating and accommodating, and sometimes just avoiding. And likewise, if you are the accommodating type, the collaborating type, the compromising type, there will be sometimes you need to assert yourself to get the job done. And I can think of some examples of persons who, based on their personality, based on their nature, they were you would think that they would go down a particular road and be in a particular position. But as time went by and they matured and they grew, they they blossom into someone who can adapt and who's dynamic to the different types of things around them and the different issues that affect them. Right? So no one best way to approach conflict, okay? Just please remember that. Preventing conflicts. Let me just put this in the chat so that I want you all to take home this point. No best way to handle conflict. So how do we go about preventing conflict? Assess the negative and positive traits of the people involved, determine the personality type. And if you do some research on personality types, you can see there's the X and Y personality types, and there's some other personality types: aggressive, submissive, assertive. People are introverts and extroverts. Now this is you doing your analysis, so you can determine the type of approach that you need to for your conflict. Review past conflicts, looking at the body language of participants, assess communication skills of those involved. This I immediately went. My mind immediately went to one of those daytime shows. There's a daytime show that's very popular. Can anyone tell me what is the name of that daytime show that's very popular that deals with conflicts? Give me some guesses here. It's supposed to be perhaps for me it's real household name, but let me see if you guys know. There's a daytime show. There's a TV series, or I guess it's a show. It's a talk show that deals with conflicts a lot. Can anyone give me a guess? Morning Vasudeva. How does the morning show address conflicts? Yes, it might sound as at times they have bold and beautiful Jerry. guys. Okay, let me deal with Vasudeva first. CNC3 Morning Show is a show to allow guests to come and promote their product. Yes, at times it might be a little combative, but it's not a show for resolving conflicts. It's a show to get information out. Okay, Lebs, Bold and Beautiful. Bold and Beautiful is a show I would think that shows you conflicts. Yes, I don't know how well it. Tracy, you got it right. Tracy, you got it right. I think this is the second. Yeah, Tracy, you got it right. Dr. Phil. So Bold and Beautiful, Sarah, I can't see how Bold and Beautiful shows you. You all have to explain to me whenever. If you can explain to me how Bold and Beautiful resolves conflicts, I would love to know. Jerry Springer. Uh, Jerry Springer is a little ticklish. The Morning Brew. How you guys are the Morning Brew so? Vasudeva, they talk about politics. Yes? Miri Ashiki Tumsi. Hi, Tumsi. Reese, what is that? every evening at you mean like an Indian soup? And Tila and Reg had a little brilliant. All right, guys, you're definitely having fun in this stream this morning. Um, yes, I know about Taylor and Ridge. Right? Okay, yes. And Mere Ashiki Tumse but I don't know. But yes, I know those Indian soaps. They can be very dramatic. I understand that they can be very dramatic. So yes, okay. But Dr. Phil was the answer I'm looking for. Okay. Dr. Phil was the answer I'm looking for. So yes, Dr. Phil, he is a trained psychologist, yes, I believe, and he has most likely, training in mediation, and you will see him many times help resolve conflicts amongst parents and kids, co-workers. So it's a good show to watch. If you pull up any one of the episodes of Dr. Phil, you'd be able to see him actually doing his work in resolving conflicts. Right, good. So in trying to reduce the conflict, try to be neutral. Yes, you might have your own personal opinion on something, but try to be neutral. The timing and the place of the conversation, and I can use an example of once where I had to chat with my CEO, well, my team and I actually back then I was a senior member of staff, yes, but my boss was most senior to me, and we had some issues, and the relationship that we had with our CEO was one that we wanted to get some clarification. Was one we worked with him for over 5 years. We saw the company moving in a particular direction, and we had to decide on a place based on his personality as the CEO, based on the relationship that we had with him as the CEO to his management team, and we decided to have the meeting at a, a trendy restaurant. Not all the time addressing a conflict would have to be in a meeting setting. You can choose something that might seem a little informal, something that's a little soft to address a conflict, especially if it might be really touchy issues that you're going to be addressing. So you not all the time you're going to address an issue, and I've experienced it myself where the approach with treating with having to talk to a staff about something, you pull them in the room, tell them have a seat, and you create that environment that staff they already aware of what this means, and they already get scared and anxious and intimidated, and it may actually be something good that you're going to discuss. So that hammers home the point about the planning the timing and the place of the conversation. Understanding that outside stress may add to the confrontation, and try to eliminate or reduce internal interruptions. And please, the very first point there on slide number 18, realize that communication is colored by personal experience, beliefs, fear, and prejudices. Manage the language used. Neutral versus loaded words. Can anyone give me an example of a loaded word or a loaded phrase or a loaded question? I'm waiting to see someone send me an example of a loaded question. Ask me a loaded question. Reduce technical language. Good. Yes, we talk about this a lot in management, about management jargon and technical jargon. So you might be the manager of an engineering company. So you're using management jargon to talk to your technical staff, and they won't understand. And likewise, if it is you were in the other direction, the technical staff is talking to their management team about a conflict, and they're using technical jargon. Reduce technical language. Make your conversation very simple. Jargon at times gives the impression as though it that it somehow is a barrier at times. Jargon at times can be a barrier for good communication, where some people get the wrong impression. I'm not seeing any examples of a loaded question. We're waiting on someone to send me what is a loaded question. Right, words may have different meanings and for different people. Ask them to elaborate. Yes, please understand that what you may say, and I'll just use an example here. What Vasudeva might be saying about what Vasudeva might be saying about this cake, and Tracy might be listening to what he's saying, but she has different feelings about this cake. So understand that your words may have different meanings to different people. when you might make a joke about something, it might be a sensitive topic for another person. Something as simple as maybe I shouldn't use it. You know, especially when it comes to religious type things, people are very sensitive to their religious beliefs. So you might be joking about about something, and a great example would be in France several years ago, where a satire magazine did a depiction of someone from the Muslim faith, and I remember some Islamic persons back then, they took real offense, and I think they attacked the magazine's office, and I suspect people. I think people died, but it's just an example that you have to be very careful with what you say to people who would be sensitive, and you need to be sensitive to people and their different cultural differences, and in language especially. No loaded. Okay, let's see some loaded questions. Loaded question. Does your friend know you like Barbie dolls? All right. Um, Jeez. Vasudeva, why don't you like the same cake as me? Vasudeva again. Whether the answer is yes or no, you are still saying you like Whether the answer is yes or no, you are still saying you like Barbie dolls. All right. Yes. Yes. I could. Yes. I would say that's a leading question. So yes. Good. Good. Thank you very much, Tracy and Vasudeva. Um, Continuing on. So aids the communication. Now I know you all would have done communication skills in year one. So all of these things there in slide number 20, you're supposed to know and have on point. Listen actively, relax, relax. I want to get a check here from everyone in class, or whoever is here in class right now. How many of you can say that you are usually relaxed when you have to chat in a group or deal with a conflict? Let me hear. Just throw it out there. How many of you consider yourselves to be relaxed? So continue the lecture as well. So you need to relax, observe body language, develop interest in it, ask for clarification. Ask for clarification. You would be so surprised to see and know that someone who is engage in conflict resolution. So party A, or someone from party A is actually asking someone from party B, explain what you mean. I don't understand. Give me an example. Ask for clarification. Plan what you're going to say. Yes, not all the time you may have the ability to plan what you're going to say, but still try and plan what you're going to say. So no one is saying that they are relaxed when they have to deal with conflict. All right. Tailor the words to the person and determine the best time. Remember, we just spoke about the time and the place at times would be very important in helping to read and in deciding when to approach your conflict resolution. And why is the conversation necessary? So I hope that we ran through several things with respect to conflict management. And in conclusion, understand and your take home points, conflict is unavoidable. Conflict is a complexity of organizational relationships, interaction amongst workers, interaction amongst your operational team, your management team, your executive team. Conflicts can occur in all different areas between each, even from the base, from your frontline workers all the way to a CEO. There can be a conflict there bypassing everyone. It depends on workers and on one another. Conflict is a healthy sign, and it is not a negative process. I want you all to understand, and I appreciate that. Conflict is healthy. Conflict is healthy for an organization. Don't think it's negative. Don't think that because you have people who don't agree with you that that's a bad thing. You want people to bring different perspectives to the table. You don't want groupthink. You don't want herd mentality. You want people to bring different perspectives to an organization to help it grow, to move from this level to another level, to move from here to another location. You need conflict in an organization for it to be healthy. It reflects dynamics. And the last slide just gives an example of poorly managed conflicts and well managed conflicts. Well managed conflicts stimulate competition, competition amongst departments. Yes, we know competition itself is a cause of conflict, but competition also encourages excellence. Let me put that in the chat as well. Competition encourages excellence. Competition is not bad. Competition is good. Um, Powerful source of motivation when you manage a conflict well. Poorly managed conflicts have unfavorable results and problems and negative attitudes. So this is the end of the conflict management lecture. I would take questions from anyone. Does anyone have any questions? Everybody okay? Because we're going to go for a break. I will end the stream and I will restart the stream and send the link, send the link to everyone so that we can join it on. Any questions from anyone? Any queries? Say something. All right, okay. Well, if there's no one with any questions, we are going to return. Let me just tell you what we're going to do. We're going to be doing inventory management next, which would feed into the other lectures that are going to come next week. Okay, so we're going to do inventory management next. So I'm going to end the stream, and we're going to start back. No questions. Okay, no questions. Marie and Tracy, no questions. Great. Okay, great. So I'm going to end the stream, and when I bring back on in about 10, 15 minutes, I'll send the link to the group again. Okay. All right. See you all soon.